The diplomatic chamber fell silent as Ambassador Jareth entered, her iridescent scales catching the artificial light of the Centauri station. She was magnificent, nearly 8 feet tall, with elongated limbs and a serpentine grace that marked her as one of the dragon caste from Draken Prime. Her kind had ruled the stars for millennia, their empire spanning 40 systems. Yet today her golden eyes held only weariness. The peace negotiations with humanity had dragged on for 3 cycles. Jareth had lost count of the meetings, the treaties, the endless discussions. She had also lost something more precious, her daughter killed in the border skirmishes that had sparked this war. The humans called it collateral damage. She called it the end of her world. "Ambassador, we're ready to resume," Jixon Martinez said, the human negotiator offering a polite nod. He was young for such a position, barely into his 3rd decade, with dark hair and earnest brown eyes that seemed too kind for a warrior species. Jareth had learned much about humans in these months. They were fragile creatures, their lives burning bright and brief like stellar flares. They had no scales, no natural weapons, no telepathic bonds with their young, yet they had conquered their solar system in mere centuries, and now stood toe-to-toe with the Dragon Empire. It was unprecedented. "I require a moment," Jareth said, her translator rendering her clicks and hisses into flat standard. "I need air." She left before Jixon could respond, her tail sweeping behind her as she navigated the station's corridors. The observation deck was empty, a blessing. She pressed one clawed hand against the transparent aluminum, watching the stars beyond. Her daughter's name had been Shira. She would have been celebrating her ascension to adulthood this cycle. "Excuse me?" The voice was small, uncertain. Jareth turned, her combat reflexes engaging before her mind registered what she saw. A human child, no more than 6 solar cycles old, with tangled brown hair and a dress that had seen better days. The girl clutched a worn stuffed animal, something resembling Earth's extinct bears. "You're really pretty," the child whispered, her eyes wide with wonder rather than fear. Jareth's translator struggled with the child's dialect. "You should not be here, young one." "Where are your parents?" The girl's face crumpled. "Mommy's gone. The doctor said she went to heaven after the attack on the colony. Daddy's in the hospital wing and Ms. Chen was supposed to watch me, but she fell asleep and I got lost and—" The words tumbled out in a rush, tears streaming down round cheeks. Something ancient and primal twisted in Jareth's chest. The child had lost her mother, just as Shira had lost hers. The girl stepped closer, seemingly unafraid of the alien predator before her. "I'm Anna," she said. "Are you a dragon? Like in my storybooks?" "I am." "Of the dragon caste, yes," Jareth replied carefully. She had devoured human culture during the negotiations, trying to understand her enemy. Dragons featured prominently in their myths, usually as monsters to be slain. Yet this child looked at her with something like hope. Anna's next words made the ambassador's world tilt. "Can you be my mommy for just a few hours? Until I can find Daddy? I'm scared of being alone." Jareth froze. In dragon culture, such a request was sacred, a plea for temporary guardianship invoking the deepest bonds of their society. That this human child, whose mother was killed in a war Jareth's people had started, would ask this of her. The ambassador's voice failed. Her translator crackled with untranslatable emotion. Anna's small hand reached out, touching one of Jareth's scales. "You look sad too. Maybe we can be sad together? Mommy always said being with someone makes the hurt less." The simple wisdom of it broke something inside Jareth. She knelt down, bringing her massive frame to the child's level. "Yes," she whispered. "I can do that, little one." For the next 3 hours, Ambassador Jareth of the Dragon Empire did something no member of her species had done in recorded history. She cared for a human child. Anna showed her the worn bear, explaining its name was Mr. Cuddles and he had belonged to her mother. They sat in the observation deck, and Jareth pointed out the constellations of her homeworld while Anna shared stories of Earth's oceans, which she had never seen but dreamed of visiting. When hunger came, Jareth navigated the station's food courts, her imposing presence clearing paths while Anna held tightly to one clawed finger. The girl taught her about ice cream, a frozen confection that made no practical sense but brought joy nonetheless. In return, Jareth shared fruit from her diplomatic rations, laughing as Anna made faces at the sour taste. The human child ambassador we've been searching everywhere. Jixon burst onto the observation deck, Ms. Chen and 2 security officers behind him. Relief flooded his features. Anna, you had us so worried. Anna looked up from where she was curled against Jareth's side, the ambassador's tail wrapped protectively around her. Mr. Jixon? I made a friend. This is my mommy for today. The human negotiator's eyes widened, taking in the impossible scene. The Dragon Empire's most feared ambassador, cradling a human child with infinite gentleness. Jareth met his gaze steadily. The young one was frightened, she said. I could not leave her alone. Something shifted in that moment. Jixon saw past the scales and claws to the grief-worn mother beneath. Thank you, he said quietly. Anna's father is awake now. He's been desperate to see her. As they prepared to leave, Anna threw her small arms around Jareth's neck. Thank you for being my mommy today, she whispered. Will I see you again? Jareth's throat tightened. I hope so, little star. Anna pulled back, then did something that would be recounted in history texts for generations. She carefully removed Mr. Cuddles from her arms and placed the worn bear in Jareth's claws. You need him more than me right now. He's very good at making the sad go away. The ambassador clutched the small toy, its fabric soft and imbued with the scent of a child's love. I cannot. Mommy always said we share what we have with people who are hurting, Anna said with the unshakable conviction of the very young. You can give him back when you feel better. As the humans led Anna away, Jixon paused at the entrance. The girl's mother was on Colony 7, he said. She was a teacher. She died protecting her students when the first bombardment hit. Jareth's scales dulled. Colony 7, the opening strike of the war, ordered by her own military command. My daughter was Shira, she found herself saying. She was 16 cycles. She died when your defense fleet fired on our diplomatic vessel at the Kepler Junction. The ambassador's voice cracked. They thought we were a military ship. They were wrong. The silence stretched between them, heavy with shared grief. Neither of us can bring them back, Jixon said finally. But maybe we can make sure Anna and children like her don't lose anyone else. That evening, as the peace talks resumed, something had fundamentally changed. Jareth no longer saw humanity as a young upstart species to be contained. She saw Anna, vulnerable, compassionate, capable of offering comfort to the very being whose people had killed her mother. And she saw Jixon, who had lost colleagues and friends in the war yet still sought peace rather than revenge. Humans, she realized, possessed something her ancient species had forgotten in their millennia of dominance. The ability to choose kindness in the face of every reason not to. They lived such brief lives, yet they filled those years with fierce love and irrational hope. The negotiations concluded 2 weeks later with the Treaty of Centauri Station, the most comprehensive peace accord in galactic history. When reporters asked Ambassador Jareth what had changed her position on human integration into the galactic community, she simply held up a worn, stuffed bear. I learned, she said, that the measure of a species is not in their weapons or their territory. It is in how they treat the vulnerable, even when that vulnerability belongs to their enemies. Anna visited Jareth twice more before the ambassador returned to Draken Prime. On the last visit, she brought her father, a thin man with hollow eyes that spoke of unimaginable loss. He shook Jareth's clawed hand and said, Thank you for caring for my daughter when I couldn't. She cared for me as well, Jareth replied. Your child taught me that healing begins when we choose compassion over vengeance. As Jareth's ship departed the station, she clutched Mr. Cuddles and looked back at the small blue world humanity called home. Such a fragile species living on such a fragile world, and yet they had taught the dragons how to hope again. In the cycles that followed, Jareth became the Empire's primary advocate for human-dragon cooperation. When skeptics questioned why she championed the weak humans, she would share the story of a little girl who asked a dragon to be her mother, not despite her scales and claws, but because even a child could see the heart beneath. Humanity's greatest strength, Jareth would write in her memoirs, is not their adaptability or their innovation or their stubborn refusal to yield. It is their bone-deep conviction that kindness is never wasted, that love can bridge any divide, and that asking for help is not weakness but the foundation of all civilization. And it was a 6-year-old human child, clutching a worn bear and battling her own grief. who taught a dragon ambassador the truth that would reshape the galaxy. We are never so strong as when we choose to be gentle.